Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best in 2023. And thank you so much for all your support and loyalty in 2022. It means a lot. This is USA Global TV and Radio. We have a brand new logo, so all of our graphics will be updated. The team and I, that would be me, will be doing all of these changes over the next couple of weeks, hopefully in time for our new wonderful reunion show, our first anniversary celebration, which is on the 15th. Our show today is entrepreneur and so much more. And our topic is getting off to a fast and successful start in 2023. Joining me today is the star of our show. His name is Justin Mirigliani, and he's an incredible person. He's a superstar entrepreneur. He is someone who leads his life by helping other people. He's very transparent and down to earth. And in addition to the work that he does with his training and consulting business, he's very much involved in advocacy work for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. He has his own charity, and he's going to be putting his book out very soon if he hasn't done so already. Let's welcome him and find out what he's been up to. Hello there.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. How have
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
been?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. You talk about 2023 and getting started in the new year, and it's hard. I got to tell you, it's tough because you just had all that fun just a week ago and 2 weeks ago, and you ate what you wanted and you played with the kids or whatever. Or if you don't have kids, you saw family or whatever the case might be. And now it's time to get back into the flow. So
Yeah, and it just happens overnight because it just was 2022. So it's not like
right.
it's our what we have to do to make that mental shift, and that's not always easy.
No, it's not. And people might think that people like us who are entrepreneurs who do have successful companies, that it's easy for us, and for them somehow it's not so easy. Well, I'll let you know on the secret. It's hard for all of us. The key is to stick with it, but it is tough. It's not easy to turn things around quickly. And um, you know, you think about New Year's resolutions and how often they are not successful. And the reason they're not successful is they're usually not attainable. And I think the key for 2023 and then again for 2024 and 2025 is to repeat the things that were successful from the year before instead of trying to find brand new things to be successful with. I'm not saying you can't add on, but start with the things that you're already successful with. Like I wouldn't start a new business venture right now in January or February. I want to kind of go back to my basics, get that up and running again for the new year, and then start to build after that. And then next year you'd build something else onto it. I think that we're very geared towards instant gratification where we want it done and we want it done now. I want to lose 10 pounds and I want it done by tomorrow. I want to make $250,000 a year. I'm making $100,000 a year. I want to get up to 250 by next month. These are things that are just not possible. And I really believe that's why most of us, and I include myself in this, sometimes set goals and then don't follow through because they just seem so far away that you're just not able to gear yourself up to do it. So uh, my advice would be go back to the things that you're successful with already, reestablish those. Give yourself a good couple weeks or a month to get into that mode again, and then start to tack on new things.
Yeah, you bring up some really good points. And I'd add to that understanding what your why is. Why do you want to do whatever it is? And is that why strong enough to keep you going, keep you
Right.
pushing, keep you curious, and keep you open to new ideas and to new relationships, new connections, because you never know where they're going to take you.
Exactly. And I was talking to my wife Amy about this. If she was saying, well, we should do this in the new year, and we should do this in the new year, and this in the new year, and it's a lot of stuff. And I said, it just seems like a big ball. There's so much that we're trying to. Well, it's January, so we got to try all these new things. And when you put them all together like that, they weigh a ton. It's hard to lift them all. So I think yes, it's good to find new things and it's good to find new avenues, but at the same time, you don't want to make it so restrictive that you can't move. You feel like you're kind of being dragged down.
It's almost like having a backpack with a bunch of bricks in it, and you're
Yeah.
just way down like that.
Or a backpack with books. How many books can you read at once, really? I mean, if they're, let's say, a 250, 300-page book, you can only really read one at a time. I mean, yeah, I guess you could read three at a time if you wanted to and kind of break it up throughout the day. But how much are you going to retain if you're reading three different books at the same time? Wouldn't it be better to finish one, move on and do the next one, move on and do the third one? But
Yeah.
I don't know if we're geared to that so much anymore. I think that most of us worldwide, not just in the US, we want, oh, let's get this done right now. It's got to be finished, and we want it done today. I don't want to hear about in February or March or April. I want it done right now, and sometimes that's not possible. And then what happens is we get frustrated and we give up. We say, well, I guess we can't do that. Maybe give
Yeah, it's
ourselves a
true.
little more time.
Be realistic. And I wanted
Yeah.
to just comment on what you said earlier. When I was in my corporate career, as you know, I retired in 2020. From that, I was, to what the executives would give me in a review, an inch deep and a mile wide, because I would get bored. So I'd start working on one account and I wouldn't get to where I want to go. So I started on another account. Then I'd go to them and say, hey, I know somebody at this account. Well, you knew somebody at the other account. It's just like, I'm just kind of bored. So I think that that's what I'm saying about the why. We really have to look at what it is we're doing, why we're doing it. And when we get to the other side of where we want to go, what's that going to look and feel like? And is that something that we're going to embrace and say, okay, I did all this hard work to get to where I am, and this is exactly where I was hoping I'd be? Or do we get there and go, wait a minute, this is not really what I wanted after all that?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think there's always going to be some of that no matter what. I think sometimes you'll succeed in something and you have dreamt that it would be so much better than it really is. I think sometimes our expectations outweigh or outstrip what really happens in reality. We
Yeah.
have this picture, oh, this is going to be incredible. And we build something up to be so incredible. And then when it's done, we're like, it was good.
What's the next thing? Yeah, that's how I
Exactly.
am.
And that's how we're geared. I think as entrepreneurs, that's part of the ability to be an entrepreneur is to know that you want to continue to strive, that nothing's ever enough. When you get to a certain level, you say, well, I want to get to another level. And uh, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I think that some people who don't have that drive are able to appreciate things a little bit more than we can, because they get to a goal and they say, wow, this is great, I made it, and that's it, I don't really need to do anymore, I've done it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to be and that's what you want to do, that's okay. But you, that won't get you any further. And again, if that's all right with you, that's fine. But for us, we can never stay there. If we had companies that made $500,000 a year, we'd say, great, we made it to $500,000 a year. Now when are we going to make a million? And then when we make a million, we'd say, well, when are we going to get to 1.5 or 1.25, whatever it is? Um, and that's great that it drives us, but at the same time, I'm not sure it allows us to enjoy making the first goal as much as maybe somebody else.
Yeah, it's true. And as you know this and our audience knows this, there's plenty of rich people who are miserable.
Yeah,
So
there's
again,
got to be a balance. You got to find the balance.
yeah, it's true.
And I
It's true.
don't know if that's always easy.
No, no, but nothing that's valuable really is easy. And if it's easy, it's boring, I think.
Right. I mean, we've talked about me wanting to become the first Austin mate to bench press 405 pounds. But I know that once I hit that, I'm going to be happy for 2 weeks. And then I'll be saying, well, when am I going to hit 425? And then I'll be happy there. And I'll say, well, when am I going to hit 450? I know that. I mean, I know how I am. And again, that part of that's good because it gives me the drive to keep going. But there is a part of that that is a detriment because you don't get to enjoy what you've done. It never seems like enough. That's
It's
that's it's a tightrope that we walk.
so true. Just while we're on the workout, how are you doing to getting to your goal?
Well, I took off for 2 weeks for Christmas because I just want to give my body a chance to relax. And I, it's like everybody else, probably ate way too much and did way too little exercise over that time. So I'm up about 10 pounds from 2 weeks ago. So not really thrilled about that, but it is what it is.
You'll turn it around because you have your
Yeah,
why.
exactly. Exactly.
When you're talking about goals, I am in love with solid core, which I talk about all the time. I'm not a paid spokesperson. I'm waiting for the check to come, but it hasn't come yet. But anyway, they have something. One of the moves is called a seated crunch, where if you imagine you're on a sit-up board and you're sitting up, but your feet are underneath the strap pulling a carriage, and the carriage is attached to the other end with springs, and the springs have a certain weight. And so they have different colors: white, gray, black, blue. Anyway, they tell you what you should start off with if you're brand new, and if you've been there for over 50 classes, what you should do. So I just hit 500 classes. So every
Wow.
time I'm going in and I'm putting on more springs, and they'll say, try holding a dumbbell. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that I put so much pressure on myself. I now have an 8-pound dumbbell in each hand plus a 3-pound dumbbell in each hand, and I'm pulling the two grays and the white. I don't even know what that is, probably 6, 12, 15. And I have my arms up in the air. And when I go into class, I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to put another spring on. I'm going to get the
Right.
5 pounds. And it's like, wait, like you're getting crazy. Like, what's the point of it? You can get hurt at some point, right? I don't.
That's the other thing too, right? I mean, we push ourselves until we get to the point where we do get hurt.
Yeah, because it's never enough, right?
Right.
It's always, and I've shared this before. I've always been about those gold stars, getting the degrees and certificates and this and that.
Yes.
And we just had a book launch a couple weeks ago, and I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching to see what the sales were going to be. I took an hour off and I came back, and every hour I'm checking for the Amazon #1 new release, and we got it. And I was like, wow, that's great. I'm like, okay, what's next? Like literally for
Yeah.
5 minutes, I was like, that's great. And I lost a whole night of sleep for what? It's just going on to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at it that that's part of the genius of being an entrepreneur. I mean, if you look at people who are highly successful, they're rarely ever happy with what they've done. I mean, I've heard of actors and actresses that won't even watch their own movies because they can't stand to see themselves on screen, or singers who won't listen to themselves because they just can't stand to hear themselves. Whereas everybody else loves them, and they're like, wow, you're incredible. You do such a great job. This is unbelievable. And not for them, it's not.
Yeah. Listen, I have to do the maintenance on our YouTube channel. So I have to go and change all of the show graphics to an actual, image from the show. And I have to put the date. And anyway, what happens is the Alcini comes on, and the wonderful Dr. Jack. And I'm like, oh, shut up. And I have to click out. Like, I don't want to hear it. And I hear me starting to talk. Hello. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear myself. So I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I think that's because we're in some ways perfectionists. And if we see one little imperfection, it's going to drive us crazy. We're going to be like, oh, we have to fix that. And some when we had Rolf Pernershka on that show that we did for Take Steps, his mantra is don't let great be the enemy of good enough. Sometimes you have to go with good enough. We could be the type of person who, let's say you're building a PowerPoint presentation, and you start changing every little thing. You don't like the bullets, you want to make the bullets arrowheads instead of dots, or you don't like the background color, it's light green, you want slightly darker light green, or the font is 48 for the title of the slides, but you want 49 or 50. I mean, you could spend the rest of your life doing that. Sometimes you have to look at it and say, well, you know what, this is as good as it gets. This is good enough. Now, if I have to do it again, yeah, maybe I could add some things to it, or change some things. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to say, look, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is good enough. I'm not going to keep redoing it and never get it done. Yeah, I think I've done that myself with the book. Like you talked about the book in the intro to the show today, and it's you want to keep making it better. And I've had it professionally edited, and it's been done for 3 years. And now I'm at the point where I'm going to have to write an epilogue to kind of say, all right, well, this is what happened since the book was done. That's my own fault because I procrastinated because I was like, well, could I make this better? Could I make that better? Getting the picture done, I wanted to lose 15 pounds before I took the picture for the front of the book. Do I want my hair longer or shorter? Should I have a goatee? Should I have a beard? Should I shave completely? There's so many things that you look at. Where should I take the picture? And I think I've done that with the book where it could have been out already, but because I've tried to make it perfect, it's taken a whole lot longer. Now, on the flip side of that, I've been working on a documentary about the Flyers, from the Philadelphia Flyers from 1984 to 1988. It's called Keenan's Kids. And we started shooting that back in 2000. I think it was 18. 2000. Yeah, it was summer of 2018. And it's still moving very slowly. But yeah, there's COVID was there. We lost 2 years to COVID at least 2 years, maybe more than that. And you know, documentaries take forever because you have to track down people, you have to fly them in to interview them, you have to fly to them. If that's the other option, you could either go out to them or they could come. You bring them into you. You have to rent the equipment. You have to edit it. There's so much that goes into creating a documentary. So that's something that you have to give yourself a break and say, look, this is just something that takes a long time, and be willing to take the long time to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true for the documentary. I just want to share about the book, my experience, if I may.
Sure.
So, my first book, I was like that, the way that you described. And finally, working with Red O'Laughlin, he's like, we just got to get it out. And so we got the book out. And when I look at how I wrote and what I wrote back then compared to how I'm writing now, there's been a big progression. But if you keep holding on to it, it's never going to be perfect in your eyes because you're perfectionist. So at
Right.
some point you have to take that leap and go, you know what? It's good enough and I need to get it out there.
Yeah, and you're right. And I promised myself over the holidays that that's going to happen in either January or February, depending on work schedule and life schedule. Yeah, it gets harder, of course, when you factor in a family, when you have two kids that do different things. And like right now, my oldest is at a swim meet, and my youngest is going to be starting softball again pretty soon, winter workouts, and driving to swim practice 4 nights a week. And then Saturdays trying to do things around the house, like actually clean it.
Clean it. What does that mean?
Yeah, I know, right? Clean the bathrooms and the kitchen, and straighten things up, do paperwork, and then on top of that, you know, do the things that you need to do for work. It's like it's not easy.
Listen, I don't have any kids. I can't even imagine. Yeah, it's
It's
hard.
doable. It's hard.
Yeah, and we get it all done somehow. I don't know how, but I think if we take everything that we're talking about and we think about getting off to a fast and successful start, I'm not sure that fast and successful really go together.
Probably not. Probably, look, for me, it's always cyclical. People don't do corporate training in January normally, and February is even a little bit slow. So it takes a while to get revved up. Like this week, I only have one class. That's it, the fifth. Other than that, I'm not working. And then the next week, I have 4 days. The week after that, back down to one. So I might only work 10, 12 days in January total. And there's really not much I could do about it. It's not like I could say, well, I could do this and get more classes. Companies are just trying to get back up and running again from the holidays, and they're just not interested in taking more time away from the actual business that they're doing to give people time to train. So I know that, and that's part of the game, and that's going to happen again in July and August. They people go on vacation. A company is not going to bring me in for $2,000 a day to train 5 people. You know, they want to if they're going to pay me that kind of money, they want 16 people there,
Mm-hmm.
or at least 12. But they're not going to do it for 4 or 5 people. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
You
I
know,
think
so
because you have this experience, you know what to expect and you can budget and plan accordingly.
yeah, you have to. I mean, that's part of the game. And then, of course, like we didn't know what was going to happen in 2020 when COVID hit. I told my wife, I said, I don't even know if we're going to survive it. You know, I might wind up back in a 9 to 5 job, and it went the other way. The business exploded because people now wanted to train, because a lot of people who were in the field in sales were no longer in the field because they couldn't be because of COVID. So they took the time to learn new skills. So that's what really kind of jump started the business a little bit. But yeah, there's only so much you could predict.
It's very true. The other thing is, I think that as entrepreneurs, we often underestimate or don't appreciate all that we have accomplished because we're perfectionists and we're just checking boxes, checking boxes. But other people realize it. Other people are really coming forward and saying, "Hey, Justin, it's amazing the business that you build and what you've created and how you went from this to this." And you're like, well, I don't know. You
I
just,
know.
yeah.
You're right. You're right. I remember when I played hockey in high school, the other team always looked when we would warm up, we'd come out and you would see the other team warming up on their end, the other side of the ice. And every other team that we played, no matter who it was, looked bigger and faster and stronger and better. It with every team, you would look over there and say, "Oh my goodness, how are we going to even compete with this tonight? You know, this team's going to kill us." And yet we were able to hold our own. I mean, we didn't set the world on fire, but played well enough. It was respectable, and sometimes we won. You know, and sometimes we did really well. But you know, it always looks like somebody's got it over you. Sometimes when you have that mindset of, you know, I want to be the best, you're always looking at somebody who you think is better, and try to compare yourself. And I think that in some ways can drive you, but in other ways can be a detriment, because then you don't get to enjoy the actual success that you did have.
I agree. Very true. When you think about the trajectory of growth that you've had with your business, when did you actually see things starting to go way up and what do you attribute it to?
I, when I started training, I was hired. I was an employee, and I worked for 2 years for a company, and then they decided that they wanted to get out of training, instructor led training. They went with CBT, computer based training. And I figured, let me try this on my own, because I have the experience. I knew some people who were doing it freelance, and I thought, you know, maybe I could make the same money, if not a little bit more. And for a few years, it went well from the beginning. I never really had, um, I had good years from the start. Then I got sick. I got ulcerative colitis, and then I had a terrible year while I was in the hospital, and it just was a disaster. And then got out of that, went back, and started to be successful. 2008 hit, and then we had a recession, and then that was a disaster. Right after 2008, I decided to incorporate myself. I became an LLC, and that's the year that I started to see much more success, because now it was my business. I wasn't just a freelance guy. I wasn't just a hired gun. I had my own business. I had a couple of my own clients, and that changed things a little bit. Um, I had an accountant who would say to me, "Ah, you know what? Just don't even incorporate. Just be yourself. You know, be Justin Mirigliani." And I disagreed with that. I said, you know, it's much more professional to be a company. Even if you're a one man band, you don't have to broadcast that you're a one man band. My website, you wouldn't know whether it's me or me and 5,000 people. You would never know the difference, because the website shows us as a company. Now, do I have people hired? No. I use consultants when I need to, but for the most part, I do all the training myself. So the long answer to the question is, around 2009 is where I saw the success, and I think it's because that's the year I incorporated. And when people saw it more as a business, instead of this guy who is just a, you know, a substitute teacher type person, it changed things.
Yes, I love what you're sharing. It's so interesting because when we're just starting out and up until a certain point, we can't really afford to bring on other people. And not only that, we don't want to let go of our stuff, of the things that we're doing, because I don't want to say trust issues, but to, it takes time and it takes incredible, I guess trust is the word, to give your business over to somebody else, because at the end of the day, you're your brand.
Right. And for me, if I have a client who's a good client and I bring somebody in to train for me, which happens from time to time, but not often, um, if that person has a bad class, I could lose the client. At worst, that would be the worst thing that could happen. Or not as bad, but still not great, would be I would have to return the money for the class and then give them a free class on top of it. So really lose 2 days worth of pay for that. So yeah, I mean, it could be you hold your breath, right? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen if somebody has a bad class. Will they say, look, we'll never use you again? Or will they say, all right, well, just don't send that instructor ever again?
Right,
You don't know.
right. That's a good point. Well, I know here on this platform, one of our team members, Roland Friedel, he has his own show, which is the men's show, Wild at Heart. And he's the first person that I said, you know what, I trust you. I'll be backstage producing the show, but you get the panel and you start the show, you end the show, you're the moderator and the host. And it actually was liberating because it was part of my big picture, my strategic plan, which is that I'm not on all the shows, that people come here and they have their own shows, which we have 3 people starting this month with their own shows. So I'm fine with that. Where I get tripped up is the back end of the business and all the administrative things that have to be done, because I have a routine. Like even the YouTube channel, if we have 25 shows a week, I have to go and change all those graphics, put in the keywords, put in the language that it's streamed in, and put in the date. And that takes a lot of time, but I have a system, boom, 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 that I just get it all done. And then I do that so I can create the broadcast for the next week. So that's just one of the things. So instead of giving it to somebody else, which would free up probably a day, 3/4 of a day, I just do it because it's part of the brand that I have. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. It does. Now, once you grow to a point where you could afford to bring somebody in to do things exactly the way you want it done, then it will be a different story. But that takes time, right? I mean, that's not something that's going to happen. And that's where the instant gratification thing comes in. We want to be where we want to be at the top of the mountain immediately. And it doesn't work that way. It does take time. And I think that's the difference between entrepreneurs and people who aren't, is people who are entrepreneurs, they have days where they feel like they can't make it, and they'll kind of just give up for a day or two. But after that day or two, they're back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody else might say, you know what, I just quit. I'm not, I just can't do this. And they just never go back to it.
Yeah, they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, possibly. But to your point about the growth and wanting things immediately, I was doing work over the weekends, and we stream to LinkedIn, we stream to 5 or 6 pages groups on Facebook, we stream to Twitter, and we stream to YouTube. And what I like about YouTube so much is that they make it very easy to see how many people are watching, how long they watch, what their ages are, where they are in the world. So we started streaming, I can't remember when, because 2020 is a blur. I think it was at the end of 2020. So I just decided to go and look at the analytics. And in 2020, let's say we were streaming for 3 months, I'm guessing, I don't know. We had 1,500 people, views, I should say, views. And at the time, we were not USA Global TV. We were rapping with Dr. JACALYN.
Right.
In 2021, we had, I think, 24,000 views. And now overall, we have 257,000 views with 118,000 in the last 90 days. And I looked at those numbers and I said to myself, if I just look at the growth, the exponential growth, that's amazing. And of course, I looked and I go, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not fast enough. I,
Yeah, I could have told you that. Knowing you and knowing how we are, that's exactly what happens,
Yeah.
right?
Well, what's also disheartening is over here, I have another computer and I watch the show. I can see the two of us were 7 seconds behind on this
Yeah,
computer. And when the show's over, then YouTube will either put on another one of our shows or they'll put on somebody else's shows. And there's a pastor, I can't think of his name, but he's got like millions and millions and millions of views, and I look and I go, he's on a stage just walking back and forth, it's like the same thing, but I don't even know what he's saying, and I think, how's he getting all those views? And I
I
thought, that's
know.
not my journey. It doesn't matter what he's doing. This journey is going in the right direction.
Right. And you know what? There is so much luck that plays into these things. I mean, you talk about people who waste their time on TikTok, right? You'll get an influencer who's got millions and millions and millions of followers. And it's all nonsense. It's not anything that's helpful. It's not anything that makes people have a better life. It's silly stuff, right? My kids watch it sometimes, and I'm like, how does this person who really is not an entrepreneur, but just kind of they found some way to make themselves internet famous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating because you think, man, how much more do we have to offer when you talk about things that we can teach people and make their lives better? And yet somebody who does things like, I don't know, lights hairspray on fire, and have a video of that. Yeah, I mean, and have 12 million views. It's like, how is that even possible? And that does
Does
frustrate you. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel the same way? Do you get frustrated when you see, like, how is that even possible?
It's mind-boggling, and I'll share this with you. This to me is really interesting. On Instagram, we don't stream to Instagram because they won't permit it, right? You can
Okay.
only live stream. But somebody followed me, and I can't remember the name of the business, but it is something to do with another country. I'm not going to say who it is.
Yeah.
So I went and looked at their profile and how many people they have following them. It was like 257,000. So I thought, okay, I'll follow them and see what they're about. So they wrote back immediately that if I wanted to, they would take my content and they would share it with their followers for a price. And this is the part that really got me, that if I wanted 20,000 new followers, I could get it for $100 and it would take about 4 days. And I thought, somebody's paying, like people are actually paying. So my point is, we don't know what's authentic and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's also frustrating. But then again, I think to myself, it's none of my business.
Yeah. But
That's
when you feel like that you have something to offer people to make their lives better or to do things that will be helpful for them, help them grow, and then you see somebody who, they film themselves jumping off a roof into a pool, and they have 50 million people who watch this crazy video of this moron who jumped off a roof into a pool, and you're thinking, people wasted that time, and
right.
is that really what they're looking for? I mean,
Well, and it's also encouraging that kind of behavior when there's
yeah.
that many. By the way, we have some comments here from Katie Stelfox, who was with us for the Spelling Bee show earlier today, joining us from the
Cool.
UK. Hello. And
Hi,
she also
Katie.
writes, we have another fantastic entrepreneur. Thanks, Katie. Are you referring to yourself? Are you referring to Justin? What are you referring to? We like to know. Thanks for
Yeah,
watching.
Katie.
Yeah.
Tell that Katie's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome.
It is
And that's
awesome.
another thing, what? And I know I've said this before in other shows. Being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody, and that's okay. It's like I hear people who are entrepreneurs say, "Well, if you really want to be successful, you have to be an entrepreneur." That's not true at all. I know people personally who are not entrepreneurs. They actually work for a company who are financially 50, 60, 70 times more financially successful than I am. I know a few people who make millions of dollars a year, literally like $3, $4 million a year, working for a company. They're not entrepreneurs. So no, not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur to be successful. That's not true at all.
Yeah, I agree
You can
with
be
you.
a very unsuccessful entrepreneur.
because you live and breathe the business. You're never, totally checked out of it. By the way, Katie was referring to you. Thank you,
Oh, thank you,
Katie.
Katie. I
That's a
appreciate that.
nice
Thank you.
compliment. When I was in corporate, it was fabulous because the money just went into the bank every
Yeah,
2 weeks. The money goes into the bank. The healthcare benefits were incredible. The perks were amazing. I don't have any of that now. I have lousy insurance, and I have to fight for every single dollar. You know what it's like. But
yeah,
you couldn't pay me to go back. There's no
right.
way I could go back to corporate because having the autonomy that you have, and when I was in corporate, I don't think I ever had a creative day in my whole life. And now I'm creating all the time. And I just am so grateful that I had that journey and that I got the courage and the coaching to be able to let it go. I mean, I had mentors and coaches, and I had a written plan of how I was going to quit. And of course, everything that I thought was going to happen after I didn't happen because of the pandemic and other
Right.
things, but you still could not pay me to go back. We have another
I don't think I
comment.
could either. I
It's
really don't.
Katie writes, I love it. I'm a singer songwriter and I just passed my
Ah,
degree in professional musicianship. And now I'm looking to start my own record label. Yay.
nice.
Very nice, Katie. We interviewed
That's
Katie a
great,
while
Katie.
back. Keep going.
Yep. Keep fighting. Remember, it doesn't have to come overnight.
That's right. It doesn't.
I think
Um,
that's what that hurts entrepreneurs the most is again going back to the instant gratification. So a lot of people could be entrepreneurs if they could get past the fact that success does usually take time. Very few people, and it happens, but it's very unlikely you're going to be super successful in a very short period. That's the exception, not the rule.
and to your point about exceptions, I don't watch, but somebody else is watching and I hear it in the background, Shark Tank. And
Mm,
it's interesting because you will have people on there who are making their revenue stream is millions of dollars, but they need some investment from a shark, and they'll say, "Yeah, our sales were XYZ in the last 6 months," and then I have to go and watch the television. I'm like, "What? What? How could?" But again, it's also timing. It's also what it is that you're offering and
right.
who you're offering it to, how you do the marketing, etc.
And do people see the value in what you
Yes,
have?
the value. It's
Yeah.
huge.
I mean, I know that we talked about soft skills when I try to sell the soft skills training, time management, conflict management, interpersonal skills, leadership skills. Companies don't really put a premium on that yet. And I think that's coming. I think it's going to happen down the road, but they see the value of Excel classes and they see the value of PowerPoint classes and Microsoft Project. But what about the other skills though, that not just the physical computer skills? There's still a lag. There's still some resistance to that type of training, and I think hopefully that's going to start changing.
I found since we started doing this platform, there are so many skills, life skills that are not taught in school. And
Right.
in addition to the what we talked about with the soft skills, we have another show called The Power of Etiquette and Manners, and they don't teach you etiquette and manners, which people think it's just holding a teacup or opening a door, but it's really not. It's emotional intelligence, and it incorporates so many other things. And what I'm passionate about is listening. They don't teach you how to listen. They don't teach you how to manage your money. I mean, we could go on and on and on. And it's almost like once you spend all of these years getting educated, there's all this other stuff that you still have to learn. And it would be great if we knew that when we were younger and we had the capacity to learn more.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I made a call last week to a customer service agent and she hung up on me. And I think she just didn't want to be bothered with. There was a question, a medical billing question. She probably didn't have an answer, and her resolution to the problem was hang up the phone. He'll call somebody else. Somebody else will pick up the line. We're really lacking in that. I think that's interpersonal skills is something that has been lost. You see those commercials where that guy, I forget what company it is, but I think it's progressive where you'll become like your parents, and he's teaching people how not to be like their parents. And there's a commercial where he talks about this lady called him and left him a voicemail, and he's asking the group what was the problem with this, and he lets them hear the voicemail, and his answer was she should never have left a voicemail. A text will do. And I'm looking at that commercial going, no, that's the problem. We're texting about everything. Everything is completely without any human interaction whatsoever. We want to talk to somebody, we text them. We want to talk to somebody, we email them. We want to talk to somebody, we send them a Teams chat. What happened to let's pick up the phone and talk to people, or knock on their office door and have a conversation? Or I know this is crazy, but pick up a phone and actually call them on the phone and have a conversation. Where is that today? I think it's missing. And I don't mean to be the I just turned 48 years old. I don't mean to be the middle-aged guy going, well, in my day it was so much better, but in some ways it was when you look at where we are now with interpersonal skills.
And in addition to the interpersonal skills, I feel that we collectively don't care enough about the other person. We're so consumed with our own issues that we ask, "Hey, how are you?" Oh, and then we look away. Yeah, okay, whatever. Right? We're
Right.
not actually present to find out how someone's doing and to take the focus off of us. And we all know people like this. You ask them how they're doing and they go on and on and on, and they never turn it around and say, you know what, I shared what I had to say, thanks for listening, how are you doing, I really want to
Right.
hear about you.
Right. Or the people who try to top you. You know, that when oh, that happened to you? Well, guess what happened to me before? And then they go into their story. It's like, okay.
Stage hogging, you know that from the training, power of listening, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Katie's giving us a number of pointers. Let's just see what she says. I gather that the more I could educate myself, the more I wouldn't need to rely on other people, which would mean more money coming into the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, of course. I mean, you can't be an expert in everything. Like I think I told you before, Dr. Jacqueline, I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to read books and do a lot of research on SEO, site optimization, site engine optimization. And while I learned a lot and I could do some things, I really couldn't become really great at it because you have to spend a certain amount of time doing it. You have to dedicate a lot of time. And I had to say to myself, look, either I'm going to have to abandon this, which I did, or hire somebody for a lot of money to do the SEO, which I decided wasn't going to be cost effective right now. So my business is more organic in that it is word of mouth. It's people who know people, me doing networking and that type of thing. And that's been good enough to grow the business. Now, at some point, as I get bigger, I will need SEO. And I know now that no matter how much I study it, no matter how much I try to research, I'm not going to know enough. I'm going to have to hire somebody to do it. Now, on the flip side of that, I've become good enough to build my own website. So I go in, and if I need to change the website, I'm not hiring a webmaster to do it. I'm able to do it myself. So you do have to pick and choose what things you can do yourself and what things you're going to need professional help with.
That's a great point. And for SEO, for search engine optimization, because the platforms keep changing the algorithms, it's hard
Yep.
to stay up with it if that's not your full-time job. So I know for us here at this platform, I have hired someone for the YouTube channel to do search engine optimization, which I'm sure is part of why we're getting more eyeballs on our stuff. But for my websites, for example, I have not hired them, which I need to do, but it's on the list. And there's a list. You can only do
Right.
so many things.
There's only so much time and there's only so much money, right? I mean,
Right.
we can't do every single thing that we want to do. Would I like to have commercial time during the Super Bowl? Yeah, of course I would. Do I have $2 million to do it? No. I mean, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to put
Yeah, of
USA
course.
Global TV and radio right on Super Bowl Sunday?
I would love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's picking and choosing and it's timing. And with the website that you mentioned, so we have USA Global TV and we have Dr. JACALYN. I manage them myself. And I think that, again, is a control issue because you can find people for a reasonable amount of money through Fiverr and through other places that for a couple $100 a month, they'll take care of it. But then they have your access to something that's extremely important to your business. And when I think about, obviously, huge corporations, they have a whole team of people that manage these things, but they've grown to the point where they can outsource all of those things. And it's not just about one person and their brand, but it's also exciting to watch the progress as an entrepreneur and
It is.
to know that there are mentors and people out there who are where you want to go, where you're going, and they will give you direction. You just have to ask. I mean, even on this platform, there's so many people that have helped us grow as we've been growing because they're mentors and they give their experience and the direction and the guidance based on where they've been.
That's a good point.
Katie wants to connect with you, Justin. That's really
Sure.
nice.
Well, thank you, Katie. I will. I'll look for you. It says what on Facebook? Okay.
Facebook. See that? Another connection live on this platform. I
Exactly.
love it. I live for
Exactly.
that. You know that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's the way it works. I mean, if you want to be successful, you have to network. You really. I spend a decent amount of money on networking. I belong to a networking group, and I do some other networking that, and there's cost involved in that, but it's worth it because if you get two or three new clients, could be a game changer.
and I think it's also to that same point. If you just stay in your bubble, in your circle, in your community, that's okay. There's plenty of people who do that. But if you're
Sure.
really looking to grow, it's about bringing value and also with networking, it's so important to help other people. That is something I learned from Ashley Owens, the great Ashley Owens. That's how I ended up starting in television, was going on to her show Connect to Success on RVN Television, which she's not there anymore. But she told me that when you're networking, not to talk about what you do, it's all about how you can help someone else, how you can connect people and bring them together. And then after you do that a number of times, I think she mentioned 3, that person's going to say, hey, you've been really helpful, what can I do to help you?
Exactly. It's like the book The Giver, that you actually give of yourself in service, not expecting a payback, but it will come eventually because people are
Yes,
going to recognize that you did something for them, even though there was nothing for you to gain from it.
so true, and it feels good too.
It does. It does. But you know what? There are a lot of people though that just won't. I've talked to people, especially with the charity with Crohn's and colitis, and people who have tons and tons of money, and they just for whatever reason don't want to donate and don't want to be a part of anything. And it's like, wow, you really have a chance to make a difference in other people's lives. You're very rich. You have a lot to give. Why not? I don't understand that. That's one of the things that is a goal in my life, is to be financially sound enough to be able to do things like that, where I could give away a lot. I can't even imagine. You look at somebody like Warren Buffett, who's given away I don't know how many billions of dollars, and still is a billionaire. I mean, think about that. To be able to give away billions and still be a billionaire is just, it's mind-boggling.
It is, and I guess it's because it comes back to him because he's so generous.
I think he still lives in the same house that he bought in like 1960.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably paid like $12,000 for that house.
Well, I think we could have another show about extrapolating what you were just saying, that it's important to help other people. And I know how you are, and I am the same way. We say yes a lot. Yes, that's okay. Yes, yes. At some point, we have to say no,
True.
because if we're
Yeah.
always saying yes and giving everything away, and at the end of the day, we still have to manage our time and we have to manage our own budget. And
Right.
I know for me, I have people asking me all the time for free things. And
I know.
it breaks your heart to say no, but at some point you go, well, I got this stack of bills. I've got to get the money from somewhere. So I think that that's another show that we can talk about how to say no, when to say no, and to whom to say no.
Yeah, because sometimes that is a necessity.
For sure. Katie has another comment here. That's how Simon Cowell started, being a mail boy working for his father, and now he's living the life I look up to. DJ Khaled, that guy knows his hustle.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Katie, for engaging with
Yeah,
us today.
Katie.
That's great. So, Justin, it's time to close out for today. I appreciate you staying over for this, the time
Yeah.
we've gone. Yeah, that's great. So tell people about the services that you offer, and you're connecting with Katie, which is great. And how can other
Excited.
people connect with you too?
Yeah. So my business is I do computer training, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Visio, Project, all these different software titles. If you go to my website, it's www.justforyoutc.com. It's all spelled out, JUSTFORYOUTC.com. My email address there is Justin at justforutc, all spelled out.com. And we do soft skills, conflict management, time management, project management, leadership skills, all these different classes. I'm adding some more as we're going forward here. And then there's the charity. We're going to get back on the horse again after COVID. It kind of knocked us down a little bit, but we do yearly NHL celebrity hockey games. We get some NHL stars from the past who donate their time and join us to play a game. And that charity is Checkmates Charitable Association, www.checkmatescharity.com. My email address there is justin at checkmatescharity.com. And we raise money and awareness for inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease, along with the folks in the ostomy community, urostomy, colostomy, and ileostomy. So we try to help both of those communities, very underserved communities. So if anybody's interested in helping us out, we'd be more than happy to listen.
And that's how Justin and I met, through the Crohn's
That's
and
right.
Colitis Foundation, through Dawn Halsey. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, another thing, if you are a patient, Crohn's, colitis, don't think that there's no one out there. There are people out there who care. There are support groups. I run a support group. There are events. There's the foundation. Whatever it is you're struggling with, talk to somebody. That's
You're looking at two
really,
patients right
yeah,
now.
exactly. Lifelong patience.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, I look forward to seeing you. You'll be back next month.
That's right. Yeah. First
Okay,
Monday in February.
fantastic.
We'll blink and boom, we'll be there.
Yeah. I will connect you. Katie's asking. Yes.
Sounds good, Katie. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you again, Justin. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, and good luck on your goal of getting to that 405. I know it's coming for you soon.
I hope so. Thanks.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you to each and every one of you who are watching or listening, whether it's on the live or the replay. We really do appreciate you. I just want to share a few quick updates. So if you don't know, I'm also an author. I'm co-writing with Mariska Duprier a series of children's books. And actually, Justin, I'm bringing Justin back. Justin, are you still there? He's still there. I'm bringing Justin back. Justin is actually featured in one of our upcoming books.
Yeah.
And Justin, which animal character represents you?
I am the honey badger.
Yes, you are. Isn't it a beautiful book cover?
I love that. It's great.
He did such a good job. It's
Yeah, really.
amazing. So this book cover represents the book that's coming out March. This one's March 26th, which is a Sunday. It's my birthday. I'm going to be 60. So I know you're not supposed to launch books on Sunday, but I'm doing it. So it's too bad.
Your birthday. Do it.
It's my birthday. But this book takes place in London at the British School of Excellence. And that's what that building is right there. And the British School of Excellence is run by Philip Sykes, who does our show, The Power of Etiquette Matters. And Philip is the giraffe. giraffe right there. He's Gerard the giraffe. And the cat next to him is Mimi the cat, and that is Leanne from the British School of Excellence. The corgi is Alcini. The corgi's name is Britannia. And then the royal swan is Caroline Heward, and her name is Princess. So look for that book. You can actually go and pre-order it right now on Amazon. So thanks for coming back for that, Justin.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, fantastic. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye. Our next book, which is coming up before that one, is called Lady Ella's ABCs of Listening, and this takes place at the School of Joy. So just to give you a little bit of background, each of the books, I'm going to show you the first two. The book on the right, each of the books, there's 7, are part of this series called The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. And each of the animals on the book cover represent a real person like Justin, who has taken our course, The Power of Listening. And the Power of Listening course is open to everyone, Katie, to you, to anybody else who's out there. This is how you join our team. Our team of elevated listeners have access to unique opportunities like being on the book covers, like I just shared with you, and many other things. The course was $257 and it's $39. All you have to do is go to that link, drjacalyn.thinkific.com/collections. Take the course. It's 2 hours. Take it on your time. And there's a 7-question quiz. And after that, you will be certified. So as I was saying, the first book is available. It became an Amazon #1 new release the day that it was launched. The second one, which is this one, is available for pre-order and also became an Amazon #1 new release, even though you can't purchase the paperback, but you can pre-order it. So I feel really good about these books that teach children how to listen. I am the ladybug. You see the ladybug there. Her name is Ella, and she actually is a real person. She's my great niece, and her name is Ella, obviously. The butterfly is Madeline Chan, and the donkey is Alcini. The lioness is Doug Lawrence, and the honeybee is Amina Ramzani. And up in the corner, you see Poncer, the bird, and that is Mariska Duprier, and she's the one I'm co-writing these books with. So I'd love it if you went over to Amazon and you pre-ordered my books and also ordered the one that's already out there to help children learn how to listen, to help you learn how to listen. It's for everybody. It just happens to be in children's book form. All right. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, please do subscribe. Just click subscribe, and then you can be aware of all the programming that we have. As I mentioned, not only do we have the shows, the 25 programs a week that we have now, we have all new programming coming out in addition to what we're currently doing. We have new show hosts that are joining us from places around the world. And if you have a show idea that you're looking to do, if you'd like to join our team, you have to be an elevated listener first. So go over to Thinkific and sign up for the Power of Listening. Thank you again. God bless you. We'll be back tomorrow.